Meredith Vaughn. The president of our HOA stood in the middle of the sidewalk with her arms crossed and demanded my pregnant sister unzip her coat like she was some shoplifter hiding contraband. 7 months along a heart condition, groceries clutched to her chest, and Meredith didn't flinch. That was the day I realized if I didn't fight back, she would strip her dignity away piece by piece until there was nothing left. And I let the whole neighborhood and eventually a judge watch it all unfold. I should back up. My name's Daniel Kessler. I work in compliance civil regulations oversight, the kind of dry stuff nobody reads until it ruins their life. I moved my sister Leah into Pinebrook Glade because she needed somewhere safe. Her old apartment nearly killed her carbon monoxide leak. Landlord never fixed it. I thought a secure, family-friendly community would be the answer. Instead, it was like stepping into Meredith's fiefdom. This woman wore authority like body armor. The HOA rules weren't guidelines, they were weapons. It started small, of course it always does. A violation for using a canvas tote bag with a fox embroidered on it. All groceries must be transported in transparent carriers. That was the official reason. Next came a noise complaint. She had her window cracked on a warm night, humming softly. Meredith called it disruptive to the tranquility of the greenway. Then a citation for sitting on a bench too long, suspicious loitering. My sister was exhausted, short of breath, pregnant, and just trying to get home. Each little note slapped on her door chipped away at her peace. And then came the sidewalk standoff. I watched from 20 feet away while Meredith tried to corner her, telling her to unzip her coat right there in public. I could see Leah's face turning red, not from heat, but shame. That's when I stepped forward. I told Meredith flat out I'd written the camera policy she was violating. I told her unless she had a warrant or a medical bag, she needed to step aside. For once she blinked. For once she lost her footing. But she didn't walk away defeated. She walked away planning. The very next week, a thick manila envelope showed up at our door. Troy, the HOA's so-called security deputy, handed it over without eye contact. Inside was something new, a mandatory resident compliance review. Not a violation, not a fine, an interrogation. They called it a wellness clarification interview. Translation: show up at the clubhouse Monday morning, let us question you about your coat, your behavior, your life. Or face probation, suspension of amenities, financial penalties. It wasn't about groceries or coats. It was about control. That night I sat awake replaying the gazebo footage I'd pulled from the camera Meredith thought she disabled. I watched her order Leah to expose herself. I watched my sister shrink holding her bag like it could shield her. And then in one frame her eyes flicked not toward Meredith but toward me, as if she was afraid I'd do nothing. That broke me, because she was right. Fear doesn't just come from what's done to you, it comes from wondering if the people who love you will stand silent. For a moment I almost convinced myself maybe we should stop fighting. Maybe if she just went to the interview, they'd leave her alone. That thought disgusted me. That was the moment I decided if they wanted a fight, they'd get one. I started digging. Every violation, every date, every name. And I found patterns. Pregnant women, elderly residents, kids, always alone, always pressured in subtle ways. Meredith had built an entire system of harassment out of vague phrases like community wellness and decorum. It wasn't random, it was deliberate. And I wasn't the only one who saw it. At the board meeting, when Meredith tried to spin new surveillance measures, ID checks, key fob tracking, even cameras targeting people's outerwear, I asked if they'd passed legal review. She glared, dodged, told me to file a grievance if I had concerns. I already had. The room shifted, people muttered, and for the first time I saw cracks in her armor. Then came the twist. Troy, the deputy who usually stood by like a statue, knocked on my door one night, out of uniform. He told me Meredith was planning thermal scanners pitched as pregnancy concealment deterrents. I felt sick. He admitted he wasn't proud of standing by. He admitted he'd seen her do it before, targeting widows, teenagers, even forcing him to knock on doors under false pretenses. And then he said something that stuck. I have a daughter. If someone tried this on her 10 years from now, I'd want someone like you in her corner. I realized then I wasn't just fighting for my sister. I was fighting for everyone too afraid to speak. So I built the case. Footage layered with HOA bylaws. Violation letters cross-referenced with timestamps. Testimonies from neighbors. Carol fined for wearing a poncho in the rain. Marcus cited for covering his wife's wheelchair with a blanket in the cold. Vivian threatened for letting her grandson stay over. 6 residents, 6 stories, all identical in pattern. I cut it together into a 9-minute video. No narration, no dramatic music, just raw footage, policy excerpts, and Meredith's voice. Cold, commanding, undeniable. I shared it with a civil rights watchdog group I trusted. They verified the files, prepared legal review, and scheduled the release. Midnight on the dot. When I woke up the next morning, the video already had tens of thousands of views. Neighbors I'd never spoken to were messaging me. "Thank you. I wish someone had done this for me." Local reporters called. The HOA panicked, sending out a bland email about misinformation that never once mentioned Meredith by name. And then in desperation, she scheduled an emergency board meeting. That clubhouse had never been so full. Every chair taken, people standing against the walls, phones out recording. Meredith walked in 7 minutes late, hands twitching, trying to keep her smile in place. I didn't wait for her opening remarks. I stepped to the front and said, "My name is Daniel Kessler, resident of Unit 12F, brother to the woman you humiliated. And last night I released a video showing exactly what this board has tried to deny." Gasps. Murmurs, phones raised higher. I handed stacks of documents into the crowd. Charter violations, highlighted still frames of Meredith blocking Leah on the sidewalk. Meredith tried to shut me down, claiming it wasn't the proper forum. That's when Harvey the treasurer stood. "It is now," he said. And then the hammer fell. I formally motioned for a vote of no confidence in the acting president. The room erupted. Meredith sputtered, "You can't." "But Mona—" The secretary cut her off. "Yes, we can. Section 6.1 allows for an emergency vote." Suddenly, Meredith was surrounded not by allies but by witnesses. Neighbors began speaking up. Vivian talked about being fined for memorial flowers. Carol about her child's rain poncho. Marcus about his wife's wheelchair. Each voice another stone on the pile. Troy stood silently at the back, arms, crossed, eyes locked on Meredith. He didn't speak, but he didn't need to. Everyone knew where he stood. And then the vote came. One by one, the board members raised their hands. A majority. Effective immediately, Meredith Vaughn was removed as president of Pinebrook Glade. The silence that followed was heavier than applause. You could hear the fluorescent lights buzzing. Someone dropped a water bottle and nobody moved to pick it up. All eyes were fixed on Meredith as her face drained. Her notes crumpled in her hands, and she walked out the side door without a word. That was it. After years of fear and silence, the rain ended in a single afternoon. No fireworks, no speeches, just a hollow thud of authority collapsing under its own weight. And the lesson: power only works if we stay quiet. Once one voice speaks, silence breaks and the whole system crumbles.